Muscular dystrophy is defined as a group of diseases caused by a mutation in a person's gene. So, for this project, we are going to explore this topic. So, the dys portion in dystrophy is Latin for diseased, abnormal, or faulty, whereas the trophy portion is Latin for nourishment. And so, basically, all together, it means bad nourishment. The muscles are poorly nourished. And so now we can sort of create a concept map for what happens. So there is a genetic mutation, and this genetic mutation happens in the dystrophin gene, also known as the DMD gene. And so, as it is a group of disorders, the most common one in the group of muscular dystrophies is dystrophinopathies. And this basically encompasses the whole spectrum of genetic mutation in DMD. And this encompasses Becker muscular dystrophy and as well as Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And for the purposes of this project, we will be looking at Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is caused by a frameshift or nonsense mutation. And we will get to explaining what those are. Also, it should be noted that the dystrophin gene is the largest gene in the human body, which has 79 exons spanning at least 2,300 kilobases. Okay, so now we're going to look at the dystrophin gene. So it's on the X chromosome, and the purple arrow that is on the top is pointing to the actual dystrophin gene. And the green arrow is we're just going to compare it to another regular gene you might find. So it's, as I mentioned, it's 79 exons and 2 million base pairs, whereas most genes or other genes are usually 10 exons and 50 kilobase pairs in length. So therefore, statistically, the dystrophin gene has a higher probability of mutation. So now we're going to compare the sex relationship in muscular dystrophy. So on the left, we have our males, XY, and on the right, we have females, XX. And so males only have one X chromosome, and if has the defective gene, well, that's the only one. Whereas if females have one functional gene and one defective gene, the functional can offset the defective if it's dominant. And so this is why it's going to be way more prevalent in males than females, because there's only one X chromosome. And so this is why the muscular dystrophy has its name as X-linked recessive disorder. Okay, so now we will look at actually what happens in the cell when there's a mutation in the DMD gene. So basically, this is a healthy cell. Right up here, we have the cell membrane, and as we can see, there's the phospholipid heads and tails. Down here, we have the intracellular actin, and this is a protein present in eukaryotic cells that facilitates muscle contraction. And up here we have the dystrophin protein, which is actually the link between the intracellular actin and the dystrophin protein complex. And this stabilizes the sarcolemma. The sarcolemma is the cell membrane of a muscle cell, and this is analogous to a support beam keeping a house sturdy. So as we can see here, the mutation on the DMD gene has drastic effects as there is no dystrophin protein now. And without no dystrophin protein, there's nothing to stabilize the sarcolemma. And so as a result, the sarcolemma, without the support of the dystrophin protein, breaks and collapses. So we have our creatine kinases. These are important proteins and they start to leave the cell, whereas the calcium ions, they start to enter the cell. And so what happens now is over time, as the creatine kinases leave the cell and the calcium ions enter, the cells in the muscle start dying, and this is known as the cell death phase. So over time, fat starts to accumulate all over the muscle cells, and this leaves it generally very weak. So some of the symptoms in toddlers include frequent falls and poor motor control. There is also waddling gait and then walking on toes, and then muscle pain and also delayed growth.